Did you know that there exists a gospel, banned from the Bible, where the concept of sin doesn't even exist, and Mary Magdalene was meant to be the true leader after Jesus? This ancient text, almost lost to history, contains profound secrets about how to escape the limitations of the world we live in. The early church censored the Gospel of Mary Magdalene due to its radical and empowering teachings. What if I told you that this book holds the key to a much deeper understanding of our existence than we could ever realize? This discussion goes far beyond religious doctrine. It challenges us to rethink how we see reality, urging us to look at the world from a completely different perspective. Once you're exposed to this truth, there's no going back. It will make you question everything you thought you knew. And that's when your true journey begins. Dolores Cannon, a renowned regressionist hypnotherapist, touches upon similar themes in her book, The Three Waves of Volunteers and the New Earth. She speaks of souls, known as volunteers, who have come to Earth at this critical time to help raise humanity's consciousness. These souls are here to guide us toward a more spiritual and enlightened existence. Cannon's work ties into the larger concept of reincarnation, past lives, and the idea that escaping the material world is the ultimate goal. Hidden spiritual knowledge, as described in many ancient texts, is essential to transcendence. To understand the full impact of the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, we have to travel back to the late 1800s, when an extraordinary discovery was made during an excavation in Egypt. A German scholar uncovered fragments of a forgotten text in the ancient city of Oxyrhynchus. This manuscript would eventually become known as the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. It wasn't just an ordinary religious document. It contained messages that could shake the very foundations of how we understand life, religion, and the world itself. As more fragments were uncovered over time, scholars began to piece together this lost gospel, which had been intentionally concealed and banned by the early church. Why? The teachings within were seen as dangerous, threatening the church's authority and its ability to control people's beliefs. The Gospel of Mary Magdalene didn't teach that salvation came from blind faith. Instead, it revealed that salvation is found through knowledge, secret, transformative knowledge that has the power to help people escape the illusions of the material world and discover a deeper spiritual truth. The church feared that if people believed they didn't need an institution to reach salvation, their grip on power would be weakened. The Gospel's message suggested that individuals could find their own path to truth, challenging the church's authority. As a result, the text was suppressed, nearly lost to time. It wasn't until the 19th century that fragments of it resurfaced, and only in the 20th century did scholars begin to fully study it. The teachings of this gospel are profound. One of its core messages is that the material world isn't inherently evil. Rather, everything we experience is interconnected and originates from a single source. Jesus in this text emphasizes that all things will eventually return to that same source. This teaching, in a world often filled with chaos and confusion, offers a sense of empowerment. It suggests that beneath the surface of our daily experiences, everything is part of a larger, harmonious picture, and by understanding this, we can transcend the fear and suffering that trap us. Interestingly, this concept, that the material world is an illusion, isn't just a spiritual belief. It's also being explored by modern science, particularly quantum mechanics. Scientists have found that at the smallest levels of existence, reality behaves in ways we don't expect. Rather than solid matter, everything seems to be composed of energy, waves, and vibrations. Max Planck, one of the pioneers of quantum theory, once remarked, "There is no matter as such. All matter originates and exists only by virtue of a force." Both ancient wisdom and modern science seem to agree. The physical world we experience is just one layer of reality. The true essence of existence lies beyond the material, and by understanding this, we can escape the limitations of the world we know. The Gospel of Mary Magdalene serves as a kind of spiritual map, guiding us toward this deeper understanding of reality. At the time of its writing, The early church was a rigid, male-dominated institution. The idea that Mary Magdalene, a woman, could hold spiritual authority over the male disciples was unthinkable. Yet, according to this gospel, Mary was the one who truly grasped Jesus' teachings. After his departure, it was Mary who was supposed to lead the disciples. She wasn't just a follower. Jesus had entrusted her with his most profound teachings. This gospel challenges not only the church's hierarchy, but also its core teachings about salvation. It suggests that the path to enlightenment doesn't require adherence to religious rules or intermediaries. Instead, it encourages each individual to seek spiritual truth within themselves. This idea would have shaken the early church's foundation, as its power relied on positioning itself as the only gateway to salvation. The Gospel of Mary Magdalene turns this notion on its head, declaring that each person has the power to find the truth on their own. Perhaps the most radical idea in this gospel is the claim that sin does not exist. Jesus tells his disciples that sin is a human construct, a tool used to control people through guilt and fear. Imagine how revolutionary that message was during a time when the church wielded the concept of sin as its primary weapon to maintain authority. For centuries, religion has instilled fear in people by claiming they were born sinful and could only be redeemed through strict obedience. This gospel dismantles that notion, placing the responsibility for one's spiritual growth not on external rules, but on personal knowledge and self-awareness. The Gospel of Mary Magdalene also shines a light on the treatment of women in early Christianity. In one of the most striking moments in the text, Mary shares the secret wisdom Jesus revealed to her with the other disciples. Peter, however, refuses to accept that such knowledge could have been entrusted to a woman. His reaction reflects the patriarchal attitudes of the time, which limited women's roles in spiritual matters. But Mary stands firm in her understanding, and another disciple, Levi, defends her, reminding the group that if Jesus chose her, no one had the right to reject her authority. This moment in the Gospel of Mary Magdalene directly challenges the male-dominated power structure of the early church, emphasizing that spiritual wisdom transcends gender. It shows that leadership isn't based on hierarchy or authority, but on understanding and spiritual insight. Mary Magdalene, a woman, embodies this truth, symbolizing a shift in how we think about spiritual leadership. Her role in this gospel demonstrates that the true source of leadership comes from the depth of one's spiritual connection, not societal structures. This gospel offers an empowering message for anyone who has felt marginalized by traditional religious systems. It reminds us that spiritual wisdom is accessible to all, regardless of gender, status, or background. It also highlights the injustice of how women, in particular, were silenced and excluded from positions of authority within the early church, even when they held the deepest understanding of the teachings. If the idea that sin is an illusion and salvation comes from within sounds radical, it's because this gospel upends centuries of religious dogma. For centuries, the church has used fear, particularly the fear of sin and eternal damnation, to control its followers. But the Gospel of Mary Magdalene frees us from that fear. It teaches that our ignorance of our true nature is the source of suffering, not some inherent sinfulness. By gaining knowledge, true spiritual knowledge, we can overcome this ignorance and free ourselves from the suffering that binds us. This message, which advocates for personal responsibility and spiritual independence, resonates strongly in today's world. Many people are questioning traditional religious institutions and seeking a more direct personal connection with the divine. They are realizing that rigid religious structures often serve to instill fear and maintain control, rather than promote genuine spiritual growth. The Gospel of Mary Magdalene is a call to break free from these structures and to reclaim our spiritual autonomy. Even more fascinating is how these ancient spiritual insights intersect with modern scientific theories. The Gospel of Mary Magdalene suggests that reality is not what it seems, and this aligns with what quantum physics is now revealing. Quantum mechanics shows us that the universe doesn't behave in a way that fits with our traditional understanding of solid physical reality. At the quantum level, Particles can exist in multiple states at once, and they can even be affected by the act of being observed. This leads to the idea that consciousness itself might be shaping reality, a concept that ancient spiritual traditions, like those found in the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, have been exploring for centuries. The physicist David Bohm, for example, proposed the idea of the implicate order, a theory that suggests the universe is an interconnected web of energy, with everything being linked at a deeper, more fundamental level. This is eerily similar to the Gospel's teachings that everything originates from the same source and will eventually return to it. It's almost as if ancient spiritual wisdom anticipated the discoveries of modern science. The connection between spirituality and science, particularly in the field of quantum mechanics, offers us a new way to understand reality. Both disciplines point to the idea that the material world is not the full picture, and that a deeper, more unified reality exists beneath the surface. This opens up a world of possibilities for how we view our existence and our place in the universe. Another striking parallel is the emphasis on consciousness. The Gospel of Mary Magdalene teaches that understanding and awakening our consciousness is the key to escaping the illusions of the material world. This idea isn't far removed from what some quantum physicists are exploring today. Pioneers of quantum theory, like Erwin Schrödinger, have suggested that consciousness itself might be the fundamental force of the universe. Schrödinger even argued that everything we experience as reality is a product of consciousness. What if the spiritual teachings of ancient texts like the Gospel of Mary Magdalene weren't just metaphorical, but were actually offering us a glimpse into the true nature of existence? What if the hidden truths in these ancient texts are the very truths that modern science is only now beginning to uncover? This alignment between science and spirituality offers a powerful new lens through which to view the world. It shows us that the ancient wisdom of the past might hold the keys to unlocking the mysteries of today. It challenges the boundaries we've drawn between religion and science, between the physical and the spiritual. And as these boundaries blur, we begin to see that there's much more to reality than we ever imagined. The Gospel of Mary Magdalene encourages us to question everything, to challenge authority, to look beyond the surface, and to embrace the idea that we each have the power to discover the truth. It's a reminder that spiritual wisdom isn't exclusive to religious leaders or institutions, but something that lies within each of us, waiting to be uncovered. And as we delve deeper into these mysteries, we open ourselves up to a world of endless possibilities, a world where science and spirituality unite to offer us a more complete understanding of the universe and our place within it. So if you're intrigued by these hidden truths and want to explore more of the mysteries they tried to keep from us, I invite you to support this journey. Click the Super Thanks button below, and together we can continue delving into the topics they don't want you to know about. Let's uncover the knowledge that empowers us to transcend the illusions of this world and connect with the deeper, hidden realities that lie beyond.